My name is Miles. I really love to act. I'm a big fan of acting, and I love to teach acting. And on top of that, I'm a big fan of traveling and just seeing all parts of the world. And what do I love about Montana? My favorite thing about Montana, I apologize if I steal your thing, is I really love the people of Missoula. I think Missoula, I've lived in 12 states, and the people in Missoula are the most unique in that there's people of all walks of life, and there tends to be kind of a live and let live. Everybody kind of feels a little bit, included in things. That's my perspective. I've been here since 2019. So.
My name is Emily. I like to keep things organized. I feel like I'm very visual and detail oriented. In Montana, I like to go boating, spend time outside. Summers are beautiful here. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
My name's Libby. I like to travel, and I like boating in Montana, or just going to a lake or the river.
Water time.
What's your favorite lake to go to in Montana?
Flathead.
Yeah, Flathead's
100%.
money.
Yep.
We should, what we should do? We should go to Flathead and get a sick poker game going in like an Airbnb, right?
Or like on a
party.
boat.
Yeah, on the boat. Oh my gosh, yeah. Take the
some
blog to
tubes
a
or
boat.
something.
There's
Let's
so
go.
many houseboats too on Flathead that just
That
like
would be
have
money.
they could it would be
Let's
cool.
do it.
It's happening.
My name's Kylie. I guess. What do I like to do? I like to hang out with
You like
my friends.
painting.
They're cool.
You like painting.
I do like painting.
So good.
I like crafts.
And I'm
Yeah.
gonna say what everyone else said. I like to boat. That's my favorite thing.
Do any of you guys have a boat? Does anybody have a
No.
boat?
My boyfriend has the boat.
Okay.
He rides the boat.
Let's go. Let's make
Let's
sure
have
that
a boat.
stays solid.
Yeah.
Like, let's make
100%,
sure
no.
everything's good with your
Have to.
boyfriend.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
We love him.
Can't
We
get
don't-
rid of
we
the
can't
boat.
lose him.
Nice.
Is it my turn? Okay.
Yes.
I'm Hannah. I also like to craft. I love crafting. We have fun craft times. And favorite thing in Montana, boating, obviously, but also horseback riding.
Oh,
Massive
sweet.
horse girl. Love a horse. So.
Amazing. So crafting, I'm just gonna ask a follow-up question. So
Yeah.
what does that mean for somebody who
Oh my god.
doesn't know?
Everything. It
Everything.
means.
Okay.
I also love like cooking, and I guess that like kind of goes into it, like
Okay.
cooking, baking.
Nice.
We'll do like
just a creative girl.
magazine, like cut up things. We'll do painting. We'll do I don't know. We do a lot of fun little craft nights together.
Make
That's great.
magnets.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go back to Emily, Libby, Kylie, Hannah. Okay.
Me go?
Yes.
I'm Chloe. I'm from North Dakota. I just moved here like 2 months ago, so I'm still figuring out, I guess, what I like about Montana. But so far, everyone in Missoula everyone's been very nice here, and I'm enjoying learning poker. Yeah. It's a very new hobby of mine that I never thought I'd do.
So you mentioned something to me over text where you said poker is kind of provided you a little bit of an environment that you feel included into to a certain extent. Being new to town.
Yeah, because I moved here not knowing anybody and
Yeah.
randomly ended up in this group, and everybody's just been really nice here. I've come into Stockman's probably once or twice where it hasn't been a lesson thing and have played, and like the dealers have been very nice. I'm still like the dealers can't really like answer questions, but they can kind of guide you a little
Yeah.
bit. Like, can I do this?
They can
And
do
I'm
what
like,
they can.
Yeah, you can do that. I can't tell you what to do, but you can do that. So yeah, it's been a good little community to join that I never thought I'd be
it's
playing
awesome.
poker. But
We never talked about this because we were so busy getting into poker, but I was actually born and raised in Fargo.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, we'll get into that
Yeah,
more.
we
can
haven't
talk.
really talked
yeah.
about that yet.
And you moved more recently from Western North Dakota, right? Or no.
So I'm originally
Oh,
from
you're from-
Western
okay,
North
got it.
Dakota, but then I practiced law in Fargo for 7 years and then moved here. So,
So
it felt very cross country move.
So fun fact about movie making. I've lived in LA on and off for like 6 years and did a bunch of commercials, TV, whatever. But the 2 feature films that I was in the most recently, both were shot in North Dakota, which is
Okay,
so funny.
yeah.
You go live all over the country and then but it's cool. More stuff is getting shot. And one of them was a New York City director coming into North Dakota. One of them is somebody who makes a lot of movies out in Western North Dakota. But yeah, Montana, North Dakota, there's a lot of great places to film. It's awesome. On to you, my friend.
I'm Danny. I enjoy reading, and I would say my favorite thing in Montana is going on nature walks and picnics.
Oh, nice.
Can't go wrong.
Good.
Right.
I even was on the phone with Tom. Somebody the other night in the game was a female player, actually, was kind of critiquing Madison's play because she was playing very conservatively. She was folding a lot of hands. And this person, which shall not be named, said she won a hand. She's like, oh, it's nice to see you not playing like a robot. Okay? what she's doing there is she's trying to encourage her to play more hands because it's better for the table if you guys play more hands. It's better for you to win if you play better hands. So in this, I'm not going to treat you, I'm both going to help you learn from the ground up, but I'm also going to set a bar. It's the way I teach acting as well. I'm going to set the bar high so that the goal is to turn you into players that can go into this game, any game, and be successful, right? Because it's, and then that's all comes down to the person's determination or interest level or things like that. And just out of curiosity, what's off the cuff, what's something competitive that you guys like to do? What's something you find yourself to be competitive at?
I dabble in tennis.
Tennis? Okay. Nice. What about you, Libby?
I was gonna say we do tennis.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. So when you play tennis, are you like badass, like I'm gonna kick everybody's ass and like super competitive, or are you more social with it?
I feel like if we're playing with guys, it gets more competitive. So I don't want to lose.
I love that. That's what I'm talking about. That's the energy that I hope that you bring to the poker table. Yeah. What about you, Kylie? What's your competitive endeavor?
I don't really do any sports anymore, so maybe work.
Work? Okay. Competitive. Do
Like
you mind saying what you do
doing-
for a job?
I'm a paralegal. So
Oh yeah, that's a competitive role.
I just try to work harder than some people.
Oh,
I guess.
nice.
I don't know.
That's cool. What about games? Any kind of games you guys?
We play card games.
Card
Play
games all the
hella
time?
games.
Awesome.
Not poker, but
Uh,
Not poker, but
What about you? What are you competitive with?
kind of like the same thing. I'm in the business world, so my field is very male dominated.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating.
There you go. Yeah, I find that in general, I get frustrated because like when I go to the World Series of Poker to play for like 6 weeks, you're dealing with a lot of international players. You're dealing with a lot of very competitive people, and by the end, I get a little worn out because I'm a flaming extrovert and I enjoy the interaction with people. But sometimes in poker, people can be very closed off. They don't want to give anything away. Like I said, headphones, different things. So I sometimes need, after that, I need to like get around people. I think 2 years ago, I hopped right into a show. I had to learn a full-length play in like a week. Even though that was crazy, I was like, thank God I'm around theater people and like artistic people again, because it gets a little, yeah. And so a little bit of my brand with all of this is this to create more of a recreational aspect to poker, make poker fun again. Years ago, when the poker boom happened, which is around like 2003, 2004, poker started to get put on TV, and people just fell in love with it. They're like, it's so fun. They had games like Poker After Dark eventually, high stakes poker, and it was just super fun to watch and be involved in. And I feel like now you just don't see as much excitement with it, and so
Why did it boom?
So-
why did it randomly get so
So I
popular?
think I don't know. I guess there's a few things that happened at the same time. One, they call it the Moneymaker effect. There was a guy named Chris Moneymaker who was just a normal guy, won his way into the World Series of Poker main event, and then won it for a lot of money. And then people saw that on TV and they were like, I can do that too. And at that time, there were two major sites, PokerStars and Full Tilt, that were tons of people were learning to play online. And so at the same time, it was around the same time that Rounders, the movie, if you haven't seen that, you definitely should watch that. Matt Damon, Edward Norton, John Malkovich, definitely the best poker movie. I'd say top 5 best gambling movies. Just a great depiction of it takes place in New York City, like underground games. So it's just an awesome movie. So yeah, Rounders came out, poker started getting put on TV, online poker was a thing. This guy, random guy, wins the main event, and then the numbers, I don't have them off the top of my head, but I want to say it went from like 500 people in the $10,000 main event to like 1,500, 2,500. This last year, I played in the main event. There was over 10,000 people that played the $10,000 buy-in tournament. Yeah, it's insane. So first place ends up being like over $10 million for one tournament, which is crazy. So yeah, so I think that gives you a sense. And then right now, poker is actually in kind of another, in the last few years, kind of another mini boom. And the one thing that would send it into the stratosphere is if online poker became legal again. It's crazy. Right now,
Illegal?
online poker is illegal. It's insane.
Is it really?
And it's a huge
I
revenue.
thought that was like a big thing that.
It's a huge revenue. Yeah. So it's a huge potential revenue stream for the U.S. government if they were to legalize it and tax it, because there would be so many of us that would play and the new players that would bring in.
Why is it illegal if other online gambling
God,
is legal?
That's a whole nother. I'll just say that I think it was a very politically driven thing by, I'll just say, people that were looking at it from a morality standpoint on the more conservative side. People were looking at it from the cheating aspect. How do you regulation? But really, it was
Proctor it.
yeah. So there are some issues with that, especially now that we have computer simulations and bots, and it's become even more of an issue to try to regulate now. And what's happening though on the global poker scale is we as a professional community are starting to just really go after cheaters, and people are being banned. People that have cheated online are being banned from playing live tournaments. So that's something I'm very excited about. Is they're like, yeah, you're going to go ahead and cheat, and you're going to not come and play in our games, and so that's how. So I think there's a little bit of an ethical agreement amongst both professionals and recreational players that we're going to hold people accountable, and we're not going to allow that to happen. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about Maria Konnikova. I just find this to be an interesting story. So I may be getting some details a little bit wrong, but she was somebody who was really interested in poker. She's an author, and she's also, I believe, connected to psychology in some way. I don't know if she has a degree in psychology, but she just found this to be an interesting art form, creative form, and she was like, I'm going to study it and I'm going to learn it. So she reached out to Eric Seidel, who in the movie Rounders that you guys are all going to watch. You guys should have a movie night and watch it together.
Movie and craft night.
There you go, movie and
There you
craft.
go.
So in the movie Rounders, Eric Seidel loses in real life to Johnny Chan in the main event, and it's like all like small TV, like you're watching something from many, many years ago. So Matt Damon and this girl that's trying to date him are like watching it as if like poker is like porn. They're just like, oh, here he's about to trap him. Oh my gosh, I love this movie. And they're watching it, and it's like you watch it and you're like, oh my god, poker is like not that serious. But they're playing for a lot of money.
So it is that
Yeah, it is that serious, and it's exciting. So Johnny Chan ends up winning the main event. Eric Seidel gets second, and I actually was super lucky. Last summer, I got to play with him for the first time in a $2,000 World Series event. He's like really tall. He's really good at poker. But she reached out to him and said, will you coach me? I want to do X, Y, and Z. Well, he was not a poker coach, to my knowledge. He had not even been involved in coaching. So he's like, I don't know. Like, and he's kind of an awkward guy. He's not overly social. But eventually she's like, I think you're the person. Can you help me? So they started doing a bunch of lessons. She played online, I think in New Jersey. And eventually she just got good quickly, and eventually was like traveling and playing in Europe. And in her book, you guys can read about that. She gets more involved. But she talks a lot about being a woman in poker. And I've also, I would say, probably know, without exaggeration, probably 20 to 25% of my good friends in poker are women. I think because, and like I said, probably she says 3 to 5% is probably the number at the professional level, maybe less at times. So what is that? That's less than one per table, right? But my friends who are involved in poker also do a lot of coaching. I'll at times talk about some of their organizations. They travel around, they work with, all kinds of different businesses. They try to bring poker into the community of poker to people. So I've learned a little bit from them along the ways, and I've also tried to promote their organizations and things like that. And if you guys ever go out to the World Series when I'm out there to play, definitely I'll introduce you to some cool female poker players and professionals, and who knows, maybe someday you guys become like Maria Konnikova and you become really good, and you're like, I remember learning in Missoula, Montana, and now I'm kicking ass in, I don't know, Japan or something.
I love it.
So yeah, I think that's a cool read. She's probably thankful that I'm promoting her book. Actually, we were playing together, and she starts talking about being an author and whatever. And I'd heard about her through the grapevine. I was like, oh, this is so cool. And in a poker table, you're kind of trapped, especially in a tournament. So now I get to ask her questions. I'm buying her book at the same time. And then I jokingly said, so is Eric Seidel just going to show up and sweat you and come up and watch you? She's like, I don't know. We got close to the money, and sure enough, he showed up. And I was like, this is so cool. So yeah, manifesting. I believe in manifesting stuff. All right, so let's get down to business. Could I take the cards for a second, Skip? Skip's he's been very helpful in helping us learn the game. Oh, he's fanning them right out of the gate, so we get to see. So I guess I'll start in basic terms. So there's 52 cards, 4 different suits. What is that? Let's see, spades, diamonds, spades,
diamonds,
hearts.
hearts, clubs.
There we go. Spades, diamonds, hearts,
hearts, diamonds, clubs.
Spades,
Reverse
hearts,
alphabetical.
diamonds. Okay.
Reverse alphabetical. Yeah.
Beautiful. So that only becomes relevant in very unique situations. But before we even get into terminology, one thing that we took a while to get into before is that an ace is both the highest and the lowest card. It can make a high straight, which we call Broadway, ace, king, queen, jack, 10, and it also can make a low straight, which is called a wheel. So
Wait, why is that
ace
not on
two.
the card?
What's that?
Why is that not on the card?
So on that card, that it's also
Yeah.
similar to what's up there. That's the ranking of the best hand to the worst hand. So
Oh.
that's more of the ace making a low and a high straight is a little bit more in depth than what you're going to get on that card. So there's going to be more nuanced stuff that you'll pick up on today. And also, we're going to post some of this online, clips of this, cuts of this, so you guys can be like, okay, if I want to go back and maybe take some notes or be in the moment right now, take things in, and then go back and jot some notes down. Plus, I sent something from Lynn Gilmartin, the one who was doing that 10-minute basic video.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
actually,
liked that. I liked her.
Yeah, she's great. She got to know, we don't need to get into this aside, but she got to know my dad last year because my dad got featured in a cool story where he was watching me in a tournament and he's got a terminal illness and they're like, why are you there with your son? And he's like, oh, I've got a few years left to live and I want to support him. And everyone was like, this is a cool story. So Lynn and all those people got to meet my dad. She's super
Oh,
nice.
so you know her.
I know her, yeah.
Oh my gosh, of course.
Yeah, she's cool. In fact, when something cool happened with my dad, I remember I sent her a message, and she's like, "Oh, that's so cool." So yeah, all right. Ace is both high and low, so that's a good thing to know. Now, before we get into hand rankings, let's talk about some terms. We'll start with you guys that are brand new. Chloe, you can't chime in just yet. Oh, Danny, right? How much have you played? Once. Okay, perfect. So you're in this club. You're in this club. You can't share, but you have watched though. You've been here watching. So what are some terms that you know of that are poker terms?
Royal flush.
Great. Awesome.
High card.
High card. Okay. Check. Awesome. Great term. Awesome.
Yeah, no, I
So what does check mean? You know what it means?
like if you don't want to put more money.
Yeah. So if the action is to you and you're passing on your option, you can verbally say check or you can tap the table. These nerds with headphones, this is how they check now.
Really?
Okay. It's crazy. But you got to be careful though that your involuntary. You got to be careful that your involuntary motion doesn't actually accidentally make a check. Sometimes you can be like, dee, 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 and then the dealer moves right past you. You're like, well, no, I was just.
Could you argue
Yeah.
that though? Could you be like, no?
If there's too much action behind you, then you're kind of stuck.
Damn.
Yeah, so you got to be careful about
no
your movement. No moving. But also remember that in this environment, you guys are going to be. People are going to be very open to knowing that you're new. If they don't know for sure, I was telling Chloe, as the dealers move in and out, you can just mention people, hey, I'm taking Miles's beginner poker class. If I might be a little confused about things, and then they go, oh, gotcha. They'll give you a little bit more. And also, I'm going to give everybody my number. So if you guys are ever like, hey, I'm going to play tonight, if I'm not in the middle of a production or something, I can try to help you out in any way or whatever. And also, as a part of our little challenge, our monthly challenge, what should we call you? Beginners? We'll call you the underdog champion of the month or something like that. You guys didn't get a chance to weigh in on it. I'm sorry, but this group is called you guys are the Missoula Underdogs. As Chloe, yeah.
Everyone loves an underdog.
Yeah, exactly. There were people that I knew that were big poker people. They're like, everyone's rooting for the underdogs now, so it's great. So every month, one of the underdogs will get into the big vlog game, and it'll be awesome. But yeah, one of the things I'm gonna do is if you play in a cash game, we'll say, I don't know, what's a good amount of time to substantially play? 2 hours? Is that crazy to play for 2 hours?
No, it's not.
So you feel like you can play for 2 hours?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you play for 2 hours in a cash game, at any point, you earn a point towards getting into the big vlog game on the vlog free roll, okay? If you play today, if you win the tournament, our free roll tournament, we'll say you get 5 points. So we'll go 5 for first, 4 for second, 3 for third, and then everybody gets a point. If you stay and play the free roll tonight, you'll get another point, and then whoever gets in the money will get another point. So we'll write all these things down. I'll message it into, maybe
That'd be
we'll
great.
create a little special group. And then if you guys play in the cash game, just text me and be like, Miles, I'm playing tonight. Or last night I played for 2 hours, and then I'll have a little sheet where I keep track. But also you guys can, well, we'll do the honor system too, where you keep track of your individual points, just so that, you know, because I really want to see you guys succeed with all of this. And it's kind of, I love healthy competition. It sounds like you guys too do as well. Oh, and you guys have a connection in what you do as well, Chloe.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
cool. All right, so let's get into more terms. Check is, the option is to me, and I don't want to bet. I elect to check because I'm either going to check because I don't have anything, or the other reason to check is I want to trap Chloe into betting, so I'm going to check and hope you bet, and then I can go from there. But it's choosing to pass on your option. You'll hear a lot of today, your option is to check, bet, or fold. So betting is to put chips forward, folding is to take your cards and pitch them in. We'll talk about like some very easy technical things about how to do that, like things that just make you blend into the group more. Just one thing I mentioned to them last month, if you know you're gonna fold quickly so that when you have a real decision, you can take more time. But one thing I'm encouraging you to do is to not look at your cards until the action is on you. That way you can study the players, that way you can play position, that way you're not just relying only on your cards, because most of the people you play against, as soon as they get dealt their cards, they will look. So if you get dealt your cards and you look right away, I could just look at you and you're all of a sudden looking around, I'm like, she's about to fold, right? But if you're not looking at your cards and you're looking at the people, then you have an advantage. One of the regulars in the game who's been playing poker for like 50 years said to Madison the other day, he goes, honey, don't worry about what everybody else has. You focus on your own cards. I'm like, exactly the opposite of what I'm teaching. As if like you guys can already think on the next level. Because there's a cool thing in poker called leveling, where it's like my cards, your cards, what I have, what you have, what I think you have, what you think I think you have, and pretty soon you're like on this next level, right? That's why I think with this thing called intuition that I think women have an advantage over men with, that you can think on that next level and get to that point. That's where I think women who really pursue poker get to be really, really good. And that's pretty cool.
By
Again,
also
sorry.
checking, a mistake I think I was always making. I can't check if Hannah bet, right? Then
Correct.
I can't. Okay.
Good, that's a good one.
That's
yeah,
a mistake I
so
always
yeah,
make.
Oh.
if you're facing a bet, your option now is no longer to check. Your option is to fold. Fold replaces check. So now it's to fold, call, or raise. So maybe that's something we can kind of get into our vocabulary.
Yeah.
Check, bet, or what did I say?
Full color race.
Okay, so if the action's to you and there's no bet, it would be check or bet, because there's no folding at that point. If there's a bet in front of you, your option is to fold, call, or raise. So maybe those, there were 2 things we got into last week that were really helpful. We did like 5 what do we say, great, good,
Moderately.
mediocre,
Like
bad,
and
really
terrible,
bad,
really
terrible, bad, terrible. So we like broke it down into like your 5 kinds of hands. That way we could all decide together where these hands fit. It was kind of, do you find
Yeah,
that to be helpful?
I like that. Yeah.
And then once we learned the hand rankings too, we started getting into like, you know, it's like when you learn a new language and you're like learning the alphabet or whatever, we'll just get into, you know, royal flush, straight flush, 4 of a kind. Hopefully by the end of today, those things will be hammered into your head. You'll have your little cheat sheet to go home with and whatever. But let's do more terms. You said check. What did you say? What was the one you said? You said a term.
Bet.
Check, bet. Okay, what's another one?
Royal flush.
Royal flush. Okay, so let's keep it simple. Cards. Let's literally go through all the terms. Cards.
Cool.
Cool. Button. Okay, we'll get into what this does very soon. Button. This moves around the table. We won't worry about that yet. What are some more terms? Queen. Okay, that's one of the cards. Chips.
Queen, king, jack.
Chips. Right. Chips. We said check, bet, fold. Another one you'll hear is all in. That's where you push all your chips forward.
I want to do that.
Yeah, that's the most.
I want to do that one.
Yeah, the all-in is the most fun. There's certain people that we play with that we just say they're obsessed with the all-in move. So it's like, it is fun. Reading people, that's a term, you know, like just studying people. In the second vlog that I'm working on editing right now, I start breaking down some of the players' body movements. Like I'll cut in on, you know, what are they doing, how are they acting. I find the nuances of reading people to be very, very interesting. The difference between being a great player and the best players. The best players, they do something and you're like, why'd you do that? You're like, I just knew, right? It's kind of cool. All right, so let's get into what are some good, actually why don't you shuffle, Skip. We're just gonna pass the cards around and we're going to talk about what beats what in terms of your whole cards. So in Texas Hold'em, you get 2 cards, and then your cards connect with the board in some way, right? And right now, we're just going to start with how your cards, the strength of your cards alone. So, yeah, let's get in the habit of, all right, so we're going to do this quickly. Don't look yet. So the way this would work, just so we might as well, because we can do 2 things at once. So the button would be here. If this was before the flop, let's get a couple chips out. So you would have what's called the small blind. We just need a couple. We just need there. We only need 2 chips. So I would be the button. You would be the small blind. These are other good terms to know. Small blind, big blind. An action before the flop always starts with the person that's under the gun. Once the flop comes out, the action's going to begin here. Okay. So another thing we did 3 things where we hammered out position, hand rankings, and the strength of your cards. So what the heck? Let's go ahead and do positions right now. So this position right here, since you're first to act pre-flop, that's another term, pre-flop. Pre-flop is right now. Once the flop comes out, they call that post-flop. That means once, that's another term, community board. This thing that comes out, the cards that are about to come out are the boards you're playing, your cards, plus the community card boards. We'll get to that in a second. You would be under the gun. You would be under the gun +1. You would be what's called the hijack, the cutoff, and the button, small blind, big blind. It sounds like a lot, but it's actually not. Don't worry about it. We're going to go through it multiple times. This makes sense because you're first to the act. You're under the gun. It feels like, oh, I got to decide quickly, right? You're next to act, so it's under the gun +1. These terms are ones that I would say 80% of people that play in here don't even know. But like I said, my strategy is to teach you guys things so that you know all the stuff. And terminology is not that hard to memorize. So cutoff is just to the right of the button. Cutoff, hijack is 2 to the right of the button. So that's just a thing you'll have to memorize. Button, cutoff, hijack. When we get past the hand rankings, we'll review these again. Right now, I wanted to set it up so that you could see how the hands are structured rather than just throwing cards out. Okay, so you be first to act. Let's flip your cards out together. You would look at your cards and flip it up. All right, so just out of instinct, what do you think you would do with that hand? Call, raise, or fold?
I don't know what any of those words mean.
Okay, perfect. No, this is great. This is why we're doing it hand by hand. So, do you feel like just intuitively that's a good hand or a bad hand?
Probably not great.
How come?
Because it seems small. I don't know.
Okay, so you have cards that are disconnected because the 10 and the 4 are really far apart. They're also not of the same suit, and a 10 is not a super high card. So think about that. You want high cards, pairs.
Always.
That'd be the first thing.
Always?
High cards. I mean, ideally
Okay.
you want to be at the higher side of the deck.
So if I get like a 3 and a 3,
Decent. That's
it's
decent
like
because that's a
fine, but
pair.
not awesome.
Yeah, that's fine. That'd be middle of the road. So with that kind of a hand, you would just fold. You'd be like, I'm not going to put any chips in. So let's go ahead and just have you, and you would look first. You would look at your cards like this. Well, let's do that really quick. So how to look at your cards. You want to make sure you're not going like this because then you could see my cards or you could see my cards. So look, I'll model one time and then you want to take your hand here. You want to kind of protect and you want to peel like this. You see how you can't see what I have? Okay, so let's practice that together. Take your cards back. So everybody peel at once like it's on you. Use your left hand to protect. There you go. And look. See, you guys already look professional. This is how you look.
I'm like, what do you have?
Okay. So Awesome. All right. Why don't
I
you
know
go
your
ahead? Why don't you look at your cards as if you hadn't yet? Very,
Oh.
very stealthy,
Okay.
and then do what we talked about, and you fold.
How do I fold?
Oh, just like
Show
this.
her how.
And why is she folding?
Okay, let's
Because
go
her
back.
cards
Why?
suck.
Why?
Oh.
Thank you. She's folding because she's got shitty cards. So yeah, you
Okay.
just take your cards, and the best way to fold is just to pitch them like that. Go ahead and fold back to her. You can practice. No, fold as. There you go.
Okay.
That was
So I
aggressive.
just
Get
Stitch.
dramatic with it.
I
Get
just
dramatic
Chuck
with
it.
Pitch them at the dealer.
Yeah, generally just towards the dealer. That's good. Perfect. There's also going to be something. Oh, here's another term. This will be great. You guys can watch this back and be like, I'm going to write down all the terms. This has now become something called the discard pile or the muck. You'll hear the word called muck. M-U-C-K. So now when you fold, you can target your fold towards the muck pile, towards the discard pile. All right, so now it's on you. Go ahead, pretend like you hadn't looked yet, and now look. Great. Yeah, there you go. Protect it. Okay, now let's flip them up and see what you have.
What? Okay.
Okay, so what's your instinct say?
They're both hearts,
Okay.
so that's cool.
Uh-huh.
2 is low, 7 is low.
Yeah.
So,
Seven
like,
deuce is actually one of the worst hands in poker. The only
Oh.
thing that makes that
Perfect.
one of the only things that makes that one good is that it is suited.
Okay.
Right? So if they're far away from each other, then that's not great. So 7 and a deuce would be bad.
Because you can't make a straight with that.
Yeah, you can. And also another one that's really
Obvious,
bad
yeah,
would be like
yeah.
a 10 and a 5 would be a really bad hand. An 8 and a deuce is really bad. So why don't you practice looking at it and then folding. Pretend like you haven't looked yet.
Alright.
Yep.
Sorry.
And then I'm like, ugh, I don't even.
Exactly. You got it. Okay, Chloe. Okay, wait. You gotta show us though. Remember?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
She's
we're
a
gonna
pro.
we're gonna play every hand
she's
together.
not-
She's
already
on time
got
for
it.
And
us.
since you've played, what would your rationale be for that?
It's bad. Well, probably terrible actually.
Okay, why? Why?
It's not suited. It's low. 3
And
and
it's low.
7.
Okay, great. Awesome. So you're folding. Go ahead. It's on you, Danny. We got a lot of barn burner hands going on here. Okay,
Wait, they
thoughts?
haven't gone yet.
I know. You guys must have really good hands.
Fold.
Why?
It's low and far apart, but
Yep.
it is suited.
Suited is the one thing that's good for it. But yeah, that's a pretty, I would say that hand is bad. Bad to terrible. Somewhere in there. Great. All right.
Good job, guys. Killed it.
Mine terrible.
Terrible. Yeah.
Better than
Yours is the
mine,
worst.
though.
Anyone have a good
Oh, mine was the worst.
All right. So we'll get into this more later. But this is the best position at the table because you're last to act after the flop. The button is great. I actually have what I would call a good hand, not a great hand. I also, my hand gets better because it's gone fold, 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 fold. Now I am on the button. I get to act last after the flop. You guys will have to act first. So what I would do here, we'll get into it. This is another term. I would raise. Okay, so our options are to fold, call, or raise. I'm going to encourage you guys to be on the aggressive side. In poker in general, you have loose or tight, and you have aggressive or passive. Those are really the only things you need to know as far as how you are to play a hand. So right away, I'm going to steer you guys towards tight and aggressive, meaning that you're going to be a little bit more conservative. You're going to be folding more than you're going to be calling. And when you play, you're going to be more aggressive. Most people's instinct is to be loose and passive. So the people who play a lot of hands before the flop and the people who are just coming in very casually, that's a good sign of a beginning player. That's a good sign. Or somebody who's just a big time gambler. They're like, I want to see every flop. I want to call with that crappy hand, that terrible hand. They just don't like to fold, right? So if I'm playing tight and aggressive, I would, in this spot, I would raise. My options are to raise, call, or fold. Folding would be a bad option here because I both have an ace, a suited ace, and I have position. Okay, let me go through another thing really quick. I learned this in a book called Tournament Formula by Arnold Snyder. He talked about rock, paper, scissors, Rochambeau of poker. You have three things. Am I saying that right? Yeah. Okay, Rochambeau. So you have three things. You have your cards, you have chips, and you have position. Okay, so right now I have the best position, so that's great. Chips don't matter right now because we haven't delineated chip stacks, and that matters most in tournaments because you're always keeping track of how many chips you have. If everybody has roughly the same stack in a cash game, that's not as relevant. Right. So now the next thing is position is great, cards are good, but because I have great position and good cards, is that helpful, Chloe? You like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what if all of us wouldn't have folded? Would you still be raising?
Okay. That's you're asking that question because you're next level. You're ready to
Okay,
move on to
sorry.
the next thing. No, that's
Sorry.
a really, really great question. So let's hang on to that.
I like it.
Okay, I'll give you the abridged version. My hand would lose strength if other people were playing. My hand is stronger because of the fact that I'm the first to give. All right. So let's say, I don't know, just for fun, I've raised now. We'll just do a little, for instance, hand. What? Do your look cool. Let's flip it up. Oh my gosh, no one. Oh my gosh. Pocket
Does she
aces.
win?
Well, here's the great part. Is that
Get a full house.
yes. Okay. So now that was exciting.
Yes.
That was exciting. Remember how we thought my hand was good?
Yeah.
How does my hand look now compared to this hand?
Sad.
Not good.
That's
Horrible.
terrible.
Okay. Hold on. I have
Actually, I
another.
don't
I have
know.
another thing. I was like, I have to teach this to you all today. Last night there was a hand where I was playing where I had this hand. I had pocket aces, and a guy that I was playing against over here had pocket fours. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I'm going to give you a for instance. My pocket aces went from the best hand to the second best hand because he had a 4 on the community board. So now I went from having a great hand to now having the second best. We're almost there, don't we? We'll get to the board in a second. And then another player who had the third worst hand ended up making a flush. So if we're looking at our rankings of hands, royal flush, straight flush, quads, full house, flush. He made a flush because his hand connected with the board, and now my pocket aces went from the best hand to the third best hand. So the lesson in me saying this is just because your hand is great at one point of the hand doesn't mean that you're always going to win, and that's what makes poker great because we're not going to be able to go on the golf course with Tiger Woods and beat him. It's not possible. You can't get in a chess match with somebody who's twice your ranking and beat them unless they like make a huge blunder or something like that. Poker, however, there's an element of luck that makes this really fun. Because if I make a 2, 3, 4 and I make a straight or 3 diamonds come out, I can actually beat your hand because it doesn't end right here. And that's where we'll get up to a community board. So let's go ahead and introduce the flop, turn, and river now that we've had all you guys fold your hand. Let's see where our big blind hand is, Libby. Thoughts?
It's fine.
I would say bad.
Oh.
Not terrible. Because of the 4 being such a low card. They're unsuited. They are connected, but yeah, not a lot of fun to play. I would say 5-4, 4-3, even 7-6. I'd probably say bad.
Okay.
So why don't you look at it again and then practice folding.
Like this?
Yep, just like you would. Awesome. And make sure, could you see it?
No.
If you guys can ever see the person's hands next to you right now, let them know just to help them out. So, okay, perfect, awesome. Skip grabs it. Now, let's not get too complicated here. Let's not worry about the action pre-flop. Let's just put up a board and we'll play these two hands against each other. So wait, hold on. Let's introduce what this is. Why did you put that card there? He just did something called a burn. The reason why he burns, from my vantage point, is it's to prevent against cheating. Okay? Because if he was, let's say he was friends with Chloe, and he was to peel this card up, she would know what card was going to come, right? So if you're like in a home game or you're playing on, they used to play on river boats and stuff, they'd be like, let's protect from cheating by having a card here that essentially doesn't play. So he puts that face down, and that's now called the burn. This is essentially the same as all those cards now. It doesn't play, and he's going to put 3 cards down and flip them over, and this is called the flop, okay? Oh my gosh. Okay, now, this is the flop. These are our pre-flop cards. Now we're combining our cards with what's on the board, okay?
Mine's looking like fine.
Your hand is excellent right now.
Oh, okay. I was like,
And
it's all
okay, great. Let's get into another thing. This is a great one. We're gonna talk about what's something that's called the nuts. Okay, you'll hear people talk about the nuts. What that means is that is the absolute best hand possible at the time. Pre-flop, this is the pre-flop nuts. Pocket aces is the best hand you can have. Pocket kings is the second best hand. Now, once a flop comes up, now we have to start reading how do our hands connect with the board. And so the reason why they came up with the nuts, I love this. I don't know how I found this out. But the reason where that term comes from is when people used to play back in the, I don't know, early 20th century, they would show up to a poker game with like their wagon train, and they would pull up, and you had these things where like, I'm describing it as if I'm from Fargo and not from small town Montana. There's a thing where you have like the nut or the bolt that goes with your trailer. Does that make sense to anybody?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so if you have the best hand, you would be willing to risk your whole livelihood on the hand. So it's like the nuts, because it's like, I'm gonna put my trailer, my house, my whole family on this hand because I can't lose at that time. So if the last card has come out, if it's the river, there's no way you can lose. So you would want to risk everything, right? Doesn't matter, you cannot lose. That's the point of the nuts, it's the best possible hand. Your hand right now is the best possible hand because you have what's called a set. Okay, you have 3 aces, which we call a set. Right now, your hand is the best hand. It cannot be beat if the game were to end right now.
Is that because I'm trying to get a full house?
Yes,
So I
because
just
right
roll
now you have
things?
3 of a kind, but right now your 3 of a kind is massive. It's monstrous. However, we have 2 more things coming called the turn and the river. So your hand can go from being the nuts to not as good depending on what comes next. So now let's talk about board texture for a second. Board texture is a great term to add to your vocabulary. Right now, this board is what's called suited and somewhat connected. Because the ace and the king, remember, an ace can be both high and low. So this ace is very close to the king in that it makes a straight ace, king, queen, jack, 10, right? They're connected. There's 2 spades on the flop. So now we're starting to think about something called a flush. Okay, let's pause our hands right now. Let's pause right here and let's go through the hand rankings. Okay, get your cards out. Let's look at the cards. We've got an example now. The best thing that we can get is called a what?
Royal flush.
Royal flush. And does anybody want to take a shot besides Chloe what a royal flush is?
The best one.
Okay, but why is it the best one? What is it? What is it? Just
It's-
looking at the thing and looking at.
It's like a suited one of each, like one of the highest.
Okay, so it's the 5 highest cards all together. So
Yes.
it's ace, king, queen, jack, 10. It has to be those cards. That's why it's so unlikely. And the only reason I have the math number right off the top of my head is because Madison from this game made one last week, her second time. And it's 30,900 to 1, which, you know, some people never make in their whole lives.
Good
So
for us.
if you were to take ace, king, and put queen, jack, 10 of spades, that's how you would make a royal flush. So that's the next highest is called, anybody? Royal flush, then a straight flush. Okay. So did anybody want to take a crack at what a straight flush is based on your hand ranking cards?
It's like a Yahtzee,
Okay.
right?
The second set of the highest cards.
Okay.
Like the lower.
But it's
Well,
suited.
But it's suited. Thank you. So it's any 5 cards together of the same suit. It doesn't matter whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It just can't be ace, king, queen, jack, 10 because that would make it a royal flush. So any, like if I got 2, 3, 4 of diamonds, that would give me a straight flush. This is a straight flush possibility. Okay. Then what's next? Royal flush, straight flush, then what?
4 of a kind.
4 of a kind. Anybody want to guess what that is? So what is it? How do you make 4 of a kind? There's 2 ways that you can make 4 of a kind.
Can you do it by suits or is it just numbers?
It's pairs. It starts with pairs. So there's 2 combinations of how to make 4 of a kind. She could make 4 of a kind if her 2 aces matched with 2 aces on the board. Like let's say just for fun, instead of this ace being here, this ace was here. She now has 4 of a kind. So that's one way to make 4 of a kind is a pair plus a pair on the board. Like look at how cool that is. That's just massive. That's all the aces. It's the best pair. That's just a really sexy hand.
So if that was the case,
Yeah.
what would I do?
Well, I think we're getting into like Chloe's question of strategy now. My thought would be it's very player dependent. If I'm against aggressive players, I would want to get them to bet. The worst thing to do when you have a good hand, and this is starting to happen to some of our newer players, they get too excited and they bet everybody out of the hand. So you got to get a little bit tricky at times, but also you don't want to lose. You want to make money with
You
this
don't
hand.
wanna wait too long.
And you can actually, on this board, it's impossible for you to lose with any kind of a run out because you have such a big hand. So now let's take our regular board back and go back to our hands. Okay, let's do it together now. Royal flush, you can use your cheat sheets. Straight flush, four of a kind. Say it together. Royal flush, straight flush, four of a kind. Keep going. Royal flush, straight flush, four of a kind. With meaning. Royal flush, straight flush, four of a kind. Okay, now let's move on to the next thing. What's the next thing after four of a kind?
Full house.
Okay, so let's demonstrate a full house. Skip, can you bring me, we'll demonstrate two concepts at the same time. Bring me a turn and bring me a 7 or a king. Skip's gonna go through, set up the deck for you to make a really good hand. All right, he's gonna wait, he's gonna burn again. Remember the burn, he's gonna put that in there and then he's gonna put, boom. All right, your cards plus those cards.
Super awesome.
Yeah, so what, based on your,
So
your
full house.
yeah, based on your hand rankings, how would that be a full house?
I would have a full house because I have 2 aces here, 1 ace there, so it would be 3 aces and
Plus.
then 2 kings.
Boom, let's
Not
go.
bad.
You guys are picking this up so fast. So you have a pair of aces, another ace, which makes it 3 of a kind or a set, and then the kings, you're playing all of these cards together. Aces, ace, king, king. You have a full house. Now, again, just like when you had 4 aces, you have the nuts. This is at this point an unbeatable hand. Even if, actually, that's a lie. If a king were to come on the last card, this would be a crazy, crazy hand. And somebody had a king in their hand, that would be 4 of a kind. That would be an insane beat. That would be like something that would happen like 1 in a bazillion times. Because you would have aces full of kings. Why don't you just go ahead and show that combination once? Go ahead, pull 2 kings out. Replace my 5 with the king. Well, this will be a wild situation. Okay, so now let's say I have a king and a 5, which is a hand I wouldn't want to play anyway.
Right.
And let's say the pretend river, introducing another term, river, is a king. Okay. She has what hand? What's her hand?
2 aces.
Plus an ace,
Oh.
plus the kings. You have a full house. Okay. I have 4 kings. My king plus king, king, king. This is a crazy hand. I'll introduce one other concept, which is called a bad beat. A bad beat is when you have what seemingly an unbeatable hand, aces full of kings, now beat by a crazy big hand, which is 4 of a kind. Remember, royal flush, straight flush, 4 of a kind, full house. So the likelihood of this happening, let's ditch that king, flip the king over for a second, flip. Now remember, for this to have had happen, somebody would need to have this card and the last king would have to come. Do you see how unlikely that is for this hand to ever get beat? Yeah. All right, so let's go back to our real hand. This is what I have. This doesn't exist here. Let's get rid of the king. All right. So now, let's go back to reading the board. Let's ditch that king on the turn there, Skip. Let's talk about what I have for a second. How does my hand connect with the board? What do I have when I combine my ace-5 of diamonds with these 3 cards? Yes, a pair. Okay. Introducing another term, we're going to talk about what's called a kicker. All right? Part of what makes a lower ace or a lower king not as good of a hand is that the way you keep track of if somebody beats you is if you have a pair of aces, you use your next card to determine who wins. So if Chloe, for example, had why don't you give her an ace-queen, Skip? So if, for instance, Chloe had an ace and a queen, she would also have a pair of aces. And now we have to determine, well, who beats whom in this spot because we both have a pair of aces. Well, my 5, it's hard to find an ace and a queen in there. Oh, you know why? Because there's 2 aces here and there's no aces left. Okay, that'll make it impossible. All right, borrow her ace for a second. We'll give it back to you. We'll give you your ace back. We don't want you to get deprived of your 3 of a kind over here. Okay, so there. So flip your hand over now. Okay, no, you gave her 2 pair. You got to give her a queen. Give her a queen or a jack. Yeah. So she has a flip your hands up so we can all see. So you can see. So she has an ace and a queen. There you go. Ace and a queen. I have an ace and a 5. Now, right now, who do you think wins out of me and Chloe. How come? Her, what is that called? What is her queen called? Kicker. Awesome. So that's a pair of aces with a queen kicker. So this is why it can be dangerous to play. I always tell people when they're starting out, be careful with small aces and small kings. If your cards are big card, small card, that can be very dangerous. Have you seen that as you
I
started?
made that mistake. I had like an ace 5 and bet all the way to the end, and then
Somebody
yeah.
had a better kicker.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, what
So
was I
this is
doing?
I did introduce the first week of this class. We're gonna talk about something called the threat of domination. What that means is, if I have a good, decent hand, but I have potentially not a great hand, her hand, ace queen, dominates ace 5, right? Because her kicker is better than mine. It's the same thing with pairs. If you have a pair of aces, let's give you your pair back. Let's give her her pair of aces back. She's feeling like, wait, I had a set and now I have only one ace. So her pair of aces dominates any pair that we could all have because it's the best pair. Aces is the highest pair. So that's another dominating spot. So as your pairs get lower, they go down in terms of rankings, right? So like pocket 7s, 2 7s would be dominated even by pocket 8s, right? Cool. So let's play this hand out. Right now, I'm going to make the mistake that Chloe did when she had an ace 5. I'm going to inadvertently run into a bigger hand. So now we would bet after the flop. We're not going to worry about that yet because that's the next step of the journey. But you would, no matter what, with these two hands, you would for sure beat me, and I would go back to myself and I'd be like, why did I play this ace 5 hand? It's easily dominated and it's a bad kicker. And you'd be like, I kicked Miles' ass with a set of aces. Let's just run a turn and river out just for fun. Yep, we would bet. Okay, we'll get to that. But right now, you would, even with this board run out, I would have a pair of aces with a mediocre kicker. You would have a set of aces, and you would win a lot of money against me. But we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Do you kind of want to pick where you sit, or like the dealer is in different spots?
Great question. So this dealer button, that's such a good question. We'll move with every hand.
Okay.
So the
so
hand
it
we
wasn't
just
really-
played, I was the dealer button. The next hand, you would be the dealer button.
So it goes
Small blind, big
Okay.
blind, under the gun. Yeah. So the dealer rotates throughout the game in
Gotcha.
cash games and tournaments. Excellent question.
Cool.
Anything else?
And then on that note, can you explain the small blind and the big blind
Sure.
and how they're forced? to
So the dealer button is where, which gets passed around, indicates where the blinds get posted. So the, let's go back with this. So in this case, you would have the small blind and the big blind. Now let's, why don't you just give us like a bunch of greens? Give us like a stack of greens.
Ooh, and what's the difference between the colors?
Well, they
Just
just
like the
they
price?
in this particular place, in a cash game, the blue chips are $1. The what are they? Orangish red? I don't know.
Yeah. the
Red
orange
are
red.
5, green are 25. That's pretty common. So in this case, just pass it around so everybody gets some green chips. Take a couple, pass them on. Okay, there's for you. So we're just gonna practice posting the blinds really quick. This is a good lesson. So we already played that hand. Oh, I need some chips. Do we? Can you toss me a couple?
I don't know, I just kinda
Oh, she's got extra. She's got extra. Pass them over here.
Who wants them? You
I'll take
want
'em.
them?
Yeah. All right. So here we go. Let's practice posting our blinds. You already have the blinds. You're the button. Small blind, 1 chip. Big blind, 2 chips. And then pull your guys' chips back on this little thing here. So, because otherwise, this is where you're gonna do your bets. Okay. So the action would start with you. You are now. Oh, let's do this practice to do our positions. She is the button.
The button.
Yeah, why don't you guys say your positions instead of us trying to do it all together? You are the
small blind, big blind.
under the gun.
Okay, cool.
Okay, we'll help with these. Under the gun,
I don't know.
under the gun plus
Oh,
1.
under the gun plus 1.
Okay, hijack, cut off, hijack, cut off.
Button.
Okay, let's do it again. Start with here.
Button.
Small blind, big blind.
Under the gun.
Under the gun plus 1.
Hijack.
Cut off. All right, now let's go. Let's do it all together, and we'll say it with purpose and meaning. Button, cut off. Say it together. Say it all together.
Oh,
Button.
cut off,
Hijack.
under the gun.
plus
1. Under the gun.
Big blind, small
You
blind.
guys are rock stars. Okay, so if anybody wins $1 million before I do, can I just maybe get like a round of drinks? Or round
Like,
of
I
drinks.
take 10%.
Go to Nobu. Go to
Gotta
Nobu
go
at
10%.
go to Nobu at Caesars. Okay. So let's move the button. Take your blinds back.
So you can bet however much you want.
Yes, we are gonna mostly be playing. Okay, good. Post the blinds, please. I'm not gonna tell you how to, but you guys will know. Good. Small blind is up, and big blind is up.
Does
All
it
right.
have to go in this?
Yeah, just forward, so it's kind of
My
in front of you.
bad.
Great. All right, now let's announce your position just like last time.
Button. Small blind.
Big blind.
Under the gun.
Under the gun plus one.
Hijack.
Cut off.
Oh, button.
Good. Let's go backwards and do it all together. Button.
Cut off.
Cut off.
Hijack.
Under the
Gun
gun
plus
plus
one.
one. Under the gun.
Big blind.
Small blind.
Good. Let's do it. Let's keep doing it. Let's do it fast. Fast. Even faster. Small. Post your blinds. Okay. Go ahead, Kylie.
Button.
Small blind.
Big blind.
Under the gun.
Under the gun plus one.
Hijack.
Nice. Button.
Okay. Now this time let's go. That, no, don't move it just yet. Let's say it all together, going that direction again.
Okay.
Button.
Small blind.
Big blind. Under the gun.
Under the gun plus one.
Hijack. Cut off. Button.
Good. Do it again and move. Yes. Question.
Why does the small blind and the big blind both put out there?
Great question.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to try to start betting, in lieu of us trying to anti-chips, because some games you guys maybe have played card games where everybody puts something up. In this case, the blinds are helping to force action. So there's some kind of a pot to
Oh,
play
so
for.
if you have to, if you're.
Yep, it's a mandatory bet or a forced bet. Yeah. And then after the flop, we'll get into betting in just a second. We'll do a couple more examples of pre-flop, and then we'll get into some betting. All right, go ahead and post your blinds. The dealers will just say, please post your
Button.
blinds.
So if you're not doing so hot, you kind of don't want to be a blind.
Especially in a tournament. As the
Right.
blinds get up, you're like, oh man, I don't want to put chips out.
It's like
Yeah,
a
but,
crease, yeah.
all right, go ahead.
Button.
Small blind.
Big blind.
Under the gun.
Under the gun plus one.
Hijack. Cut off.
Button.
All right, let's go backwards. Everybody together.
Button.
Cut off.
Under the gun.
Under the gun plus one.
Under
the
the
gun.
gun.
Big blind.
Small blind.
Button.
All right, awesome. All right, so let's go ahead. We've got the pre-flop. We're posting the blinds. We understand that. Now let's work on betting after the flop. But before we work on betting after the flop, let's talk about doing our great, good, mediocre, bad, terrible. So let's deal out some hands and we'll practice betting, and we'll just do it like we did before, where we flip them up. But we're gonna do hand rankings where. Actually, why don't you give us chips similar to what we'll have in the tournament, Skip? So we all have a stack.
Everybody turn their chips in real quick.
Yeah.
Got stacks for everybody.
Awesome.
Make it nice and neat.
So in our free roll, which will be starting in about 20-ish minutes, everybody will have a chip stack. Okay. Remember, everybody's gonna get money back.
Score.
And I'm gonna put a new option in today. We're gonna try two new things. One is, if you get kicked out of the tournament, you get knocked out, you have the option of rebuying for $5. Okay, that $5 is gonna go back towards whatever we're putting up for the different prize pool, for different things, whatever. But that gets you back into the tournament. Skip and I are gonna give you rebuy buttons so that if you get knocked out, you can come back in. I told you nobody has to pay anything out of pocket today. So if you get busted out and you just want to root on your friends, you can do that too. It's just a way, since the tournament's going to go on for a while, if you're like, oh man, I still want to play, you have an option of doing that. You also know that everybody's going to get $10. So even if you bought back in twice for your $5, you still wouldn't lose any money, right? Because everybody's going to get a minimum of $10 just to participate in the tournament. That's actually, in most tournaments today, they either have 1 or 2 rebuys or unlimited rebuys. So that's a pretty common thing in tournaments. In the World Series of Poker, a lot of the tournaments are 1 maximum rebuy. The smaller buy-in tournaments, they let you buy in a bunch. Just a way to generate bigger prize pools and things like that. So now we all have a stack in this setting: 500, 100, 25. why don't we skip? Can we get more chips? Why don't we do for this free roll tournament? Why don't we do 2,000 chips? Just because we're gonna in a tournament they have something called a structure. That's the way in which the blinds move up. You guys aren't going to be playing a ton of tournaments with the exception of the free rolls. Tournaments are really fun. They're dynamic. The blinds go. They it's what's called escalating blinds. The blinds move up every certain amount of time, which you'll see when we play. I say dynamic because it's more exciting. They are longer days, and the problem with the tournament is you're stuck playing with the same players. In a cash game, you can come and go whenever you want. You can come in, play for an hour, leave. You could go down the road and go to Sakatumi and eat, and then come back and play again. But in a tournament, you play until the tournament is done.
Can I do this?
Yes, in fact,
Cool.
I'm
That's
the
what I
worst
do.
at this.
I'm so bad at that.
Madison
I
was
need
giving
to
Madison was giving me a hard time because Skip. Why do I keep calling you? It's Chip plus Skip and whatever. I'm the worst because I will do as I say, not as I do. My chip stacks get really messed up. In tournaments, I'm really good about it because you should stack them in stacks of 20 when you start to get bigger stacks. But the biggest thing in tournaments is you want your highest denominations up top or in front because this is 500. You wouldn't want to have these inadvertently hidden here because you always want to know how many chips people have. So right now we have 500, 1,000, we count by 5, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 2,000. We'll start with 2,000 now just for our little practice, and then when we do the tournament itself, you guys will all have 2,000. Great. So why don't we do? Let's do a high card for the button. This is how they determine the button at certain points. Is they will throw out the card, and whoever has the highest card, that's where the button will be. Oh, and the button goes right where it was.
Nice.
Okay, so we all understand high card rankings from ace down to 2, right? Remember that a pair is better than a high card. So if you have a pair in your hand, pre-flop, that is a better hand. However, the lower your pair is, when the board starts coming out, then you start realizing that your pair power gets, goes down pretty quickly when other cards start coming up. We will talk about one other thing with pairs. If your card comes up on the board, like with your aces, when an ace came, that's what's called a set, okay? 3 of a kind in this case is a set. If I have an ace and 2 aces come up there, that's the same hand value or hand strength, but that's called 3 of a kind. Does that make sense? She has a pair, an ace comes up, that's a set. If I have 1 ace, 2 aces go up on the community board, that's called 3 of a kind. That's one way. If you guys always get that right away, people will be like, oh, they know their shit. They know their shit. They know the difference between set and the 3. If you guys start saying hijack, cut off right away, they're going to be like, oh, we got to watch out. That's why I like to teach to the top. And if you don't remember, it's okay. But some people have a really quick, my sister is a doctor, and her ability to memorize a lot of things, it's like if she was going to play poker, I would want to teach to the top of the vocabulary because she'd pick up on things more quickly, right? So if you always teach to people just learning the basic things, then what about those that are going to go?
Yeah.
All right, so let's post the blinds. I'm not going to tell you when, but let's post the blinds. Awesome. 25 and 50. So we'll start with the blinds at 25, 50 in this pretend tournament, and let's have the blinds go up every 5 minutes, just for right now. We'll play a little 15-minute practice tournament with our hands face up. How about that? Go ahead and deal them out face down, just like that. Great. Okay, so I will be first. Don't look at your cards yet. Remember, remember, because you're trying. Because here's the thing: you want to look to see what we're doing, right? And then you would think, if I had this hand, what would I do? If I had this hand, so you're like in your mind thinking, before I even look at my cards, I want to see what everybody else is doing. And then we have our other trick we learned from last time: always look left before you act. Right? Remember that, Chloe?
Yeah, I'm not good at that.
Before you act,
Staring at you.
you see the action in front of you, and then you look left, because if your less experienced opponents are going like this and they're looking around, oh, she's gonna fold. She's getting ready to order a drink. She's gonna fold. Now it's like you're making a decision what to do based on looking to your left. That's a big thing. Like the other day, I was playing a hand where I was getting ready to play, and this guy in the tournament had leaned forward, and I went to bet, and then I was like, why did I bet? I made a play against another player, and this guy's a player who plays pretty conservatively. The second he leaned forward, I should have immediately folded. Because he had looked at his cards, and moving forward is a sense of strength, right? Because if you're going like this, and it's cool, right? Those are tells. Those are things to pay attention to. All right.
That's why you want to do like nothing at all.
Yeah, that's why you want to stay as. That's why this person over there was getting on Madison for saying she was robotic. Well, you know what? Go fuck yourself. You know, like
Don't you wanna be robotic?
Yes, you want to be. You don't want to be readable. But when you folded, that's when you can go to being social and still paying attention. You don't want to be an asshole at the table. You want to be friendly. But in game, it's you're trying to win money. Serious. All right. So I'm gonna look at my cards, then I'm gonna flip them up, and I'm gonna say this is bad. It's actually, I would even say it's terrible because it's a 5 and a 2. The only good thing about it is suited. I'm gonna go like that and fold. All right. Okay, what do you think you would do before you tell us what it is? So your options are to fold, call, or raise. What do you think you would do?
What is
Call and raise.
We'll get there. We'll get there when it's time. So don't worry.
Okay.
We'll
I
get
think
there.
raising is just adding on to it, calling.
Yes,
and
calling is put match. Okay, calling. This is a good way that we kind of discovered a way to describe it. Calling is matching the bet. So right now the forced bet is 50. I chose not to put any chips out because I didn't want to risk anything with my 5 deuce. So calling would be matching the bet. Raising would be making it more than that.
Okay.
Folding would be throwing your cards in. So
I think I would raise.
nice, awesome. All right.
No, but
Yeah, sure. You know what? With me describing the best way to play being tight and aggressive, if she were to come in calling, that would be a passive play, right? But by you saying you're going to raise, that would be aggressive. So based on that coaching, that would be really good advice. So let's get into raise sizes. I would say in this setting, let's go with nobody else in, let's go with 3 times the blind. So if the blind is 50 chips, what would 3 times be? 500s, 100s. Yep,
So
perfect. Crush it. And you would just, and then remember, just push it forward
Okay.
in one motion. So, yep, and get used to this too. Instead of just putting out like that, when you have multiple chips, do it in one motion
Chuck
so
it.
it looks cool. Boom.
Throw it.
Okay.
Yeah, boom, badass, right? This looks cool. So now, Skip's gonna call out the bet, and he's gonna go over to you and say it's 150 to call.
150 to call.
All right, what's your?
It's like an error.
Would you think you would fold, call, or re-raise? Now pretend you
Yeah,
don't know
look
what
at
she
these,
has.
Yeah, right. I guess I'd call.
You would call? Okay,
Yeah.
now let's see what you would call with. Okay. I am going to give analysis in game just because it's helpful. I would say that when you have an unsuited ace and you're facing a raise, the threat of domination here, with maybe being up against the bigger ace, facing a raise, I would actually consider folding.
Because
That's
she
okay,
was-
because she's shown aggression. This shows why aggression pays, because now she's forcing you out with a better hand. But since you said call, let's go ahead and have you call. Put the chips forward. Awesome. Have you looked yet, Kylie?
calling is just putting more money in.
Okay, wait. Let's see what you're folding. Great. Why are you folding?
Because those are very low.
Low. Great.
Low and sad.
Disconnected.
Low and sad.
Sad.
and low.
Sad and low.
Sad and low.
Okay.
Raising,
Awesome.
putting more. Been like,
I like how you guys are looking at your cards. It looks very professional already. Great.
I'm folding.
Okay. Why? Why are we folding?
Because I think that it's sad.
Sad. It's low
I think
and
it's
sad.
a little bit higher than you, but I think it's low and sad.
Her card 6-3 is actually a little better than that, only because
Yeah.
it's more connected. Yeah. Okay, so you fold. Good.
See ya.
Folding.
Why? Show us.
Not suited, and
One high, one low is bad.
queen's not that high. So
And
it's not
4 does, yeah. Awesome. Do you see how if you had come in with a call, how it might have encouraged other action, and now by raising it's limited the
scaring
field?
everyone, yeah.
Yep, it's good.
Chill,
I would fold.
Okay, how come?
Just not good.
Okay, so when you have a blind out there, when you have 50, you notice how you guys had nothing invested, and she has 50 in. So for her to call, it would be 100 instead of 150. So that's why people tend to what they call defend the big blind more often when they have something invested. I think when you're early on, to try to be focusing on winning the hands that you enter, I would be okay with that fold. As Danny gets more experienced and you are starting to read the players, it wouldn't be the worst call, but I think folding is just fine. So let's fold. That was your instinct. That's great. So now all these chips get pulled in. Now what you have to do on your own, the dealer can't do this for you. Oh, I don't have anything in. You have to get used to counting the pot. This is, I'd say, in the early stages, this is the only math that I really think you guys need to do. Eventually, I'll teach you some good math tricks. But right now, it's just adding the pot. 150 plus 150 plus big blind, small blind, which right now is always going to be 75. So there's 375 in the middle. Cool? So Skip will pull that in. Now, the reason why you want to know the size of the pot is you have to decide how much to bet once the flop, turn, and river come up. So we'll get into, so we just talked about how much to raise pre-flop, right? We said 3 times, right? More if more people come in. After the flop comes up, right now, just for beginning strategy, we're gonna go somewhere between half of the pot to full pot. Let's keep it simple like that. Eventually, some people will teach you to go more than the pot. People will tell you to go less than half the pot. But right now, we'll focus on, we'll say half the pot is like 200. The pot is 375. So when the flop comes up, our options are going to be to check or bet. Because right now, you're not going to be forced to any action yet because you're going to be first to act. So you're going to either check or bet. So we're already thinking about this because you're like, all right, the pot's 375. It's me against Libby. We're battling out for that pot now. Now you can see whoever wins this hand is going to be the chip leader of this tournament now. And the other person's going to have a little bit less than the rest of us. All right. Skip's going to put up, what's this called?
Burn.
Burn.
Oh,
Awesome.
burn.
Burn, and then this is called the flop. Flop. Okay. So, you don't know what her cards are, and we're just playing with your hand right now. How does your hand connect with the board?
If I had a 9, that would be 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yep, but it's too far apart, right?
Right.
So do you have a pair? Let's first look for pairs. Do you have a pair?
No.
Okay. Do you have? Let's go down in our hand rankings. Remember we said royal flush, straight flush, 4 of a kind, full house, right? Let's go through those again. Reminder: royal flush, straight flush, 4 of a kind, full house. What's the next one after full house? Flush. What is a flush?
I'm gonna cheat.
Oh, -3.
Same suit.
Same suit.
Same suit.
All of the
Oh.
same suit. Cool.
Doesn't matter
All
what
right,
it
so
is.
let's focus on those hand rankings now. This is a good time to do that. A flush is all of the same suit. So if 3 diamonds come up, you make a flush. You combine your 2 cards with the cards on the board. If this goes with 4 diamonds on the board, you would also make a flush. If the board runs out with all of the same suit, the board can also be a flush, right? So if there's 5 hearts out there, but then the highest heart remaining of the cards out here would be a higher flush. So that's where you want to have a higher one of that particular suit. All right, so what's next after a flush? You guys can cheat, it's okay.
Straight.
Does anybody want to guess what a straight is?
It's just 5 sequential numbers.
5 sequential numbers. Yeah, somebody mentioned Yahtzee earlier. Yeah, you have a
Yeah.
small straight and a large straight. Small straights are no good in poker. Large straight, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, those are all good to know. A straight can at times be what's the best hand possible called again?
Royal flush.
No. The best hand you can make. The
Oh,
best
the
possible.
nut.
Nuts.
Nuts.
Yeah. Just remember that wagon pulling your.
Sure.
Yeah. So right now, I teach this a lot when I'm working with students is to figure out what the nuts would be. Right now, the best card possible would be a 6 and a 9, because that would make a straight. You can't make a flush because there's not 3 of the same suit. You can't make full house because there has to be a board pair. You can't make a royal flush because that's ace, king, queen, jack, 10. You can't make a straight flush without making a flush, right? So the best possible hand right now is a 6 and a 9. There's also another possibility of a straight if you had a 6 and a 4. You see that? If you had a 6 and that's where some of those lower cards you guys had, even though they were so bad before the flop, they actually connected with the board better than these two hands did. Because you guys remember what your cards were? You had a 7 and a
7 and a 3.
right? So right now you would have a pair of 7s.
Could I get those? No.
Can you dig those out of there?
Yeah,
for
give
me?
me
Yeah.
them back.
Take them out of the muck. Danny, what did you have again? A jack and a 9. Okay, so her hand is interesting because she had what's called overcards, just like she does, cards that are higher than the board. But you also had what's called a straight draw. If a 10 would come with your jack 9, you would have 7, 8, 9, 10 jack. So you had the possibility of making a straight at this point. So let's just think about your hand and how it fits with. Do you feel good or bad or great?
Feel
Not
pretty
good.
bad.
Yeah, not good. How about you?
I feel fine.
Fine. Okay, you only know that because she has nothing. Right. So
How do you
pretend
feel
you don't
now?
know what she has. Just looking at those cards in your hand, do you feel good or not good?
Like just average. Like,
Average.
it would all depend on
What happens in front of? Great. You're already thinking about how she plays. Now let's say she checks.
Then I would check.
You would check?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about bluffing for a second. This is my favorite part about poker. If she checks and the pot's 375, wouldn't it be fun to just win the hand with only ace high? So let's
But, like,
pretend.
but
Let's
then, like, what if I don't?
let's see what happens. Why don't you? How much would you bet if we talked about bet sizing? How much do you think you would bet?
Like 100? I don't want to put 200 in.
Okay, but what is
Please
gonna
don't make
what's
me.
gonna help your bluff to get through more often?
I guess
Higher.
200.
Okay, so let's try it. How do you feel about your hand now?
Good.
Okay, remember your cards.
Horrible.
Horrible. So what would you
Really
do
bad.
if you had to fold, call, or raise?
I would fold.
Okay. So how do you feel now?
So awesome.
Awesome, right? Okay, push the pot to her.
She gets it.
But we
Awesome.
know that Libby's a little liar, so.
Isn't that fun though?
Yeah.
She just went. You
Yeah.
checked. She showed. But remember the paper rock scissors, Rochambeau. She had the power of position. She got to act last. Therefore, she got to steal the pot. That was a good hand. But you know what? The other thing, I'll give you another thing to think about. Don't sweat the muck. Meaning, if you folded a 7-3 and it was a good fold at the time, don't worry that a 7 came. People always get so.
I'm
It
pissed.
doesn't matter. It's like, who
No,
cares?
pissed.
If you make the right decision at the time, that's all you can control, right? All right.
You want to move out there? The actual free roll. It's almost 4.
Oh yeah, because we wanted to start that out there, so we were already good. Okay, all right. We're gonna start with getting your 2,000 back. Let's get everybody back to their 2,000. We're gonna do something. Remember, it's gonna be a long game. We're going to try something that's gonna be kind of fun. Let me introduce the rules really quick. You are going to get You're gonna get 2 phone a friends for your friends.
Yeah, I'll
And you're going to get 2 phone a friends of Miles. So when you're playing the tournament for real money, because we're about to go play a real free roll, you can pull me in twice to consult you on a hand. And you can pull one of your friends twice for the whole tournament.
When you say one of our friends, could I pull my friend Josh?
Nope, Josh. Okay, well, how about this? If Josh is around, you guys can have one Josh consult.
Okay.
Josh!
Yeah, Josh
Is
is
it
at-
unlimited?
so you got, Josh, are you going to be here for the free roll? Huh?
Right now.
For the next hour and a half.
Sure.
Okay, so you get 2 Miles, 1 Josh, and 2 friends. So when, yeah, but it has to be somebody that's, your friends can only be people that have been eliminated from the tournament. It can't be somebody that's in hand. So in the early stage, and you got to think about it, as the tournament goes on, your decisions are going to be more paramount, so you maybe don't want to use them when the blinds are pretty low, right? All right, so everybody's, are you just putting them back in there?
Yeah. And then I'll
Okay.
get them. I'll get them.
Why don't you guys, just for the sake of continuity, as you're going over, the way you count seats is to the left of the dealer is the 1, 2. So why don't you go to the 3, which is the dealer's up against the wall. 1, 2, 3. So sit in that seat. 4, 5. Same seats, just for continuity and then all that other stuff. And we will start cards in the